Hey guys, Joe here. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 4 areas of your business that basically you need to have up and running in order to be successful. Okay. So, a lot of people think business is really tough. I keep on seeing these posts that it's all the sacrifice and the long hours and the stress and the blah, blah, blah. Yeah, if you do it the wrong way, sure. But it's only 4 things that need to happen. 4. Okay. So, number 1, you need to get people to call you, okay? Or at least know you exist so that way they can call you, right? So that's your advertising, that's like your SEO, Google My Business, like that kind of shit. The next thing is you need to be able to sell the job, so that's your selling ability. Now that's one thing we're really working on this year because our closing rate is 8%. But because I get 3,000 to 4,000 leads a year, like that was okay. But that's one of the limiting things that we have going for us right now, right? But most people don't have that issue. The next thing is you need to produce the jobs. Now, this is the big guy for most contractors, right? And a lot of times they think it's they need more leads and blah, blah, blah. Like I was just talking to a guy yesterday and I could tell he's going to be successful. Like I 100% know it. He's just going to change this one little thing in his head and then it's going to like whoosh. Producing the jobs. So if as a fence company, like we have to install fences, right? In the beginning, I was installing the fences, okay? Well, your capacity of your business, of how much you can earn for your business is specifically limited to basically these 4 areas of your business. So you have to look at that, right? So most guys that are installing fences, and he was doing the same thing, and he was working a day job on top of it. So he's working all these hours, plus then he has to do the fence installation, plus answer phone calls, emails, and all this other shit. But the major bottleneck, if you think about everything from an hourly perspective, is how much time are you spending on, like, do you need to spend on getting people to call you or to sell the jobs, or compared to how much time it takes you to produce those jobs, right? That's the number one thing, right? Because if you're there for a day, it's a 10-hour day, so you spend 10 hours installing a fence, but like how long did you spend on getting people to call you or selling that person? And the answer is probably like 2 hours at most, because if you to sell the job, then you have to go out and do the quote and all that kind of shit. So like that might take you 2 hours, but the installation took you 10 hours, so it's 5 times longer, right? So that's like the first thing you need to work on. So as a business, if you are currently the one installing what you sell, if you are installing the fences, if you are doing the plumbing, if you're doing the electrical or whatever you provide, the landscaping, right? You cannot grow until you get yourself out of that equation. It's just never going to happen. How can you possibly grow the business anymore if you're already working 10 hours a day? You're going to work 20 so that way you can do 2 installs instead of 1? No, like that's not going to happen. So that's number 1 for most businesses. Number 1, stop installing the thing that you install. Now, a lot of guys will say, well, I can't find the quality employees, or I can't afford to hire someone else, okay? Or I can't hire someone good enough to replace me, right? So for that, there's like 2 things that you gotta look at. Number 1 is to find someone, employees, and he had the same issue. So I said, you have this guy working for you, can he run the business on his own? I mean, run the installs on his own? No, okay? Can you get him ready in the next 2 months to install on his own? And he's like, probably not. I said, well, that guy's not the answer, right? And I could see his mind spin, trying to comprehend like what I'm trying to say. But when it comes to installing fences, there's like 3 things that need to be done. We have to be able to dig holes. We have to be able to set the post. And then we have to like do the pickets and the gates. That's it. So if they've already had experience doing this shit, and then you can't train them in 2 months to do that without you having to be there, they're not the answer, right? So it's either you find someone that's the answer, and this is what a lot of people do, where they try to go out and hire someone and train them and everything else, and then get disappointed because they don't work out. Or they keep on trying to get that other person ready, but it's clear that they can't, because they could say, oh, I want to be the foreman, I want to do this and that. But if they don't have the character traits that you need, so if they don't answer the phone when you call, if they don't show up when they're supposed to show up, if they don't basically do what they say they're going to do, then they're not the answer. It doesn't matter how much they say they're going to be that person. They're never going to be that person, right? So a lot of business owners struggle with this. And they keep on trying to force it, right? You can't force it. It's not going to work. It's either going to do it or it's not, right? For me, he kept on bringing up Sean King. Sean King, if you're in the defense industry, you know who he is. He's an absolute beast. I envy him for a ton of reasons. He is nonstop, on the go, driven, builds the culture, does everything, right? At this point, I'm not that person. I also realized I don't want to be that person, right? Nothing against him whatsoever. He, amazing, absolutely amazing. He's also in my opinion, if Sean, you're watching this, in my opinion, that when he changes his mindset, and I've talked to him, mentioned a few brief conversations about this stuff, once he changes his mindset of how he operates his business, not his fence company, his academy and all that kind of stuff, once he changes that, and once he changes it in his mindset, I have no doubt, and for him, it's not about money. You can just see it. It's not about money. It's about changing lives and stuff like that. But the way he's doing it, he's only changing 10% of the lives that he could have, right? He's leaving 90% on the table. He's leaving 90% of the people unaffected and not changing their lives because of the way he's doing things. Once he changes that, it's going to be ridiculous. He's going to change thousands of lives immediately. And every single year he's changing thousands of lives, whereas now he's changing, handfuls, right? But it's a mindset thing. But anyway, going back, if you're not the Sean King, if you aren't the type of person that can bring in and attract the high quality talent, if you can't spend the time like he does to build that culture in your business, right? Because whatever reason, you don't want to, you're already working all the hours, whatever it may be, you're not a people person, whatever, right? Then you have another option. And it's hiring subcontractors. And I was totally against it because I didn't want someone else doing it and someone else's name basically on the installation, that kind of thing. But guess what? Last year, I was 14, 16, 18 weeks out, and I couldn't, we couldn't handle it. It just wasn't working, right? So I finally hired a subcontractor because my buddy kept on telling me, just hire a sub. What's the problem? Just hire a sub. What are you doing? Your problem is you can't produce enough work. You don't have the time and you don't want to manage these guys. Just hire a sub. They do it on their own, right? I'm no. And then, finally, 14th conversation later, I'm you know what, fuck it. I'm just going to do it. Well, what happened? The business, we went from 14, 16, 18 weeks out to 3 weeks, right? So I went from producing, X amount of jobs per week to, say, 5 jobs a week. Now I'm producing 10 and 12 jobs per week. Well, what's that do to my income? It drastically increased, right? Did the amount of time I spent working increase? No, it actually went down even further because the subcontractors were better than my employees. So I spent less time dealing with the bullshit headaches and just focused on building the business more and more. So I started making more and working less. That's what I'm trying to portray to you guys. Work less, earn more. It's possible, okay? So that's all you gotta do. Hire subcontractors, okay? If that's the thing that's holding you back in your business, and more than likely that is what's holding you back in your business. It is, right? There's no two ways around it. So anyway, so that's step number 3. So again, because I went on a tangent and we're 10 minutes in. So we have to get people to call. We have to sell them the jobs. We have to produce the jobs. What's the last thing? Well, that's really knowing your numbers, okay? And I was horrible at this, and it's still improving, right? Because you could start with a very basic mentality of to know if you're booking enough jobs or have goals in place. is what you need to do is, actually I'll do that for another video. I'll probably link to something else on how to know your numbers, but those are the 4 main things, right? And oftentimes it's normally just producing the work. That's step number 3 that's holding everyone back, because like this guy I talked to, like, he wanted more leads because he was bringing in someone else, but that was in 6 months, and then they were going to be able to run the crew, so then they were able to do a lot more jobs, and then that would take the work away from the owner, and then they could build and build and build, and then he can leave his job, and then he can bring his wife to leave her job, and build this massive business. I have no doubt, just talking to him, like, you can just feel from certain people that, like, he's got his shit together, smart guy, but he's going about it the wrong way, right? So what needs to happen again is we need to get out of our way. And a lot of times it's step number 3, and it sounds weird to go from step number 1 to 2 to 3, but if you have enough work as it is, but you're already working 60, 80 hours a week, well, getting more leads is not the answer. But there's ways to play around with this shit, right? So you could get more leads, to book more jobs, to produce more jobs, and all that kind of stuff, right? But again, it's a mindset shift of, I need to book more jobs. No, you could book more jobs to make more profit. Like, that seems logical. Like, if I'm making X amount by doing 100 jobs, if I do 200 jobs, well, then I'm making way more money, right? And you're thinking double the money, but it's really not double the money. Your revenue is doubling, but your profits are increasing even more, right? Which is funny when you think about it. Like, you got to think about this shit. How is that possible? Well, it's possible because you have a lot of expenses in your business, right? If you're spending a couple $100,000 a year on your business, right, between advertising and employees, like if you have a staff to answer phone calls, emails, like all that kind of shit, and you're bringing in $100,000 a year, well, if you double the jobs that you're doing at the same profit rate, well, those people have already been paid for with those 100 jobs, right? Does that make sense? So the next 100, you don't have that same overhead. So then your profit increases even more. So you didn't make an extra $100,000, like you made an extra 150 or 200,000, right? Pretty cool. But again, everything is a mindset shifts. And if your mindset is still as a worker, it's not going to work. Your job as a business owner is to lead your business. But if you are the one in the ditches every day, digging the holes and providing the service, you can't build the business. Like, you just don't have time. You could say, oh, I'm going to do it after I get done with work. I don't know about you, but my best work is done like first thing in the morning, right? My best work is not after I worked 15 hours that day and killed myself all day. The other thing to think about, which is scary to me, is if you're the only one that's producing all this, right? What happens when you get injured or sick? What happens to your business? It literally goes to a standstill. Like I hurt my wrist, and it's been messed up for the past like 4 months because I went surfing. What would you do if you couldn't do the installations? It would force you. It would do one of two things. It would make most people give up, or it's going to force you to change what you're doing. Well, just change now, right? It's literally that simple. So I hope you guys found value from this video. I love talking to business owners because it gives me more crap to talk about, right? Because I see what you guys are struggling with, because it's stuff I dealt with years ago that I don't even think about now because it's so simple. I say all the time, good subs, but I'm not getting to the reason why you guys aren't willing to get subs, right? So anyway, if you found value, like and subscribe so you can get more videos like this. If you know someone that needs this kind of help, please share it with them, right? Because it makes no sense to kill ourselves. Like, it doesn't have to happen. I went from working 80, 100 hours a week and I was making less than I do now. And I'm telling you, for my business, like, it's a half hour a day. It's now going to increase slightly because I've realized that I have to build up character traits and some other crap and really drive the business even more, so that way we can go from the 2 million we hit to like 4 and 5 and 6 million, and we can do it pretty damn quickly, right? Because it's all the same process. Get the people to call, sell them the job, produce the job, and know your numbers so you're not fucking up and losing money. So anyway, hope you have an awesome day, and I'll talk to you.